In 2008, the private jet industry nearly collapsed. Not from bad engineering, from bad optics. Congressional leaders told auto executives to sell their jets before asking for bailout money. Executives who owned planes started driving to meetings instead. The Gulfstream sitting on the ramp became a liability, and then it came back, quietly, and then all at once. Today, there are more private jets operating than at any point in history. The industry didn't just recover, it stratified. Right now, someone is paying $2,000 for a seat on a repositioning flight. Someone else paid $75 million for the plane. Same runway, same takeoff. Completely different realities. Before I start, I know someone's going to bring up fractional ownership. Someone else is going to say net jets. We'll get there. Level 1. Semi-private and empty leg flights. $500 to $4,000 per flight. This level exists to make you feel like you've arrived when you haven't. The true product here isn't comfort. It's access to the private terminal. The feeling of walking past the commercial security line, through a quiet lounge, directly onto a tarmac. Empty legs are repositioning flights, a jet that needs to move from point A to point B to collect its next client. Operators sell seats on that route rather than fly empty. Prices range from $1,500 to $4,000 one way on high-demand corridors like New York to Miami or Los Angeles to Las Vegas. Semi-private operators like JSX go further. Fixed routes, small terminals, 30-seat aircraft, configured entirely in a business class layout at $500 to $2,000 per flight. The startup founder who just closed a seed round books it. The real estate agent who needs one clean airport arrival to close a client books it. Then they learn the flight leaves when it leaves and they have zero input into either. Level 2. On-demand charter. Light jets. $4,000 to $8,000 per flight hour. This is where private aviation actually begins. The plane waits for you. The departure time is yours. The airport is yours, not the hub 2 hours from the meeting. The regional strip 12 minutes from the client's building. Light jets, the Citation CJ3, the Phenom 300, the Honda Jet, seat 6 to 8 passengers and carry a range of roughly 1,500 to 2,000 miles. A round trip from New York to Miami lands at $25,000 to $35,000 all in. The cabin is not extravagant, it is functional. The lavatory is enclosed but small. The galley is a countertop and a coffee maker. The mid-market CEO, who normally flies commercial books, a light jet when she has 3 meetings scheduled in 2 cities with no commercial routing that gets her home that night. The law firm partner calculates that 5 last-minute business class tickets plus a hotel night for the team costs more than the charter. He runs the number, shows it to the CFO, and the CFO stares at the spreadsheet for a long time before quietly saying yes. At this level, the product stops being about speed and starts being about schedule sovereignty. Level 3. Midsize and super-midsize jets. $6,000 to $12,000 per flight hour. This is where private aviation stops feeling like a workaround. The product becomes serious business infrastructure, not a shortcut, a system. The stand-up cabin means you can move. The enclosed lavatory means the flight is not an endurance exercise. The range, 3,000 to 4,000 miles nonstop, means New York to Los Angeles in a single leg. Mid-sized jets like the Citation Latitude and the Learjet 60. Super mid-sizes like the Challenger 350, the Citation Longitude, and the Praetor 600. These aircraft seat 8 to 10 and carry charter rates of $6,000 to $12,000 per hour. The Challenger 350 is the single most chartered aircraft in the world for a reason. It sits at the exact midpoint of range, cabin, and operating cost, where most serious private aviation decisions end. The family office that chartered 200 hours last year did the math and realized chartering is costing more than a fractional share. At this level, the product stops being transportation. It becomes an office with a runway, and a runway you return from that night. Level 4. Heavy jets. $10,000 to $16,000 per flight hour. This is the first level where the cabin matters as much as the destination. Below this, you fly private to save time. At this level, You fly private because the experience itself carries value. That's a different calculation. The true product is the in-flight environment, what it allows you to do while the plane is moving. The Challenger 650, the Gulfstream G280, the Legacy 650. These aircraft seat 12 to 16 and operate at 4,000 to 6,000 miles of range. Full galleys where a flight attendant prepares actual meals, not snacks from a cart. Multiple cabin zones, sleeping configurations, conference table layouts. The jet is no longer competing with commercial first class. It's competing with a hotel suite. And at this level, it's winning. The PE fund managing partner flying 250 hours a year holds his fractional share the way his assistant books conference rooms. Routine, expected, unexamined. His family flies the same plane to the mountains in January and treats it like a shared corporate asset, because that's exactly what it is. Families board, children sleep in a separate zone, the parents have dinner 2 rows forward as if nothing unusual is happening. At this level, the product stops being about arriving faster. It becomes about what you can accomplish in the air, and that changes the economic case entirely. Level 5. Ultra long-range jets, $12,000 to $18,000 per flight hour. At this level, distance stops existing. The true product is point-to-point global reach with no intermediate stops, no third country customs, no schedule disruptions introduced by a fuel stop in a city that isn't on the itinerary. The Gulfstream G700, the Bombardier Global 7500, the Dassault Falcon 8X, range of 7,000 to 8,000 nautical miles. List prices sit around $75 million. Charter rates run $12,000 to $18,000 per hour. The cabin rivals most hotel rooms by square footage and exceeds them by floor-to-ceiling height. When one of these aircraft lands at a regional FBO, the ramp goes quiet. People stop and look, not because private jets are unusual, because aircraft at this level have a presence. At this level, the product stops being a jet. It becomes sovereignty over your own geography. You don't route around the world routes around you. Level 6, VIP airliners, $80 million plus purchase price. This is where private aviation stops being a jet and becomes a residence at 40,000 feet. The Boeing business jet and the Airbus corporate jet, ACJ220, are not repurposed commercial planes. They are wide-body platforms acquired before production and delivered to completion centers, where teams spend 18 to 24 months building a home inside the fuselage. 6 distinct cabin zones, master suites with actual beds, conference rooms, dining rooms, shower facilities. Reported pricing for a fully completed ACJ220 sits around $80 million. The completion alone can cost $30 to $40 million. You won't find the buyers on a Forbes ranking. Not because they don't qualify, because they are wealthy enough to make sure they don't appear there. Royal families, industrial dynasty heirs, sovereign wealth structures with no public face. These are people for whom a G700 cabin is simply not enough space for 12 hours in the air. At this level, the product stops being aviation. It becomes a private home that changes time zones overnight. The flight is incidental. The person boarding a JSX flight tonight and the person whose VC-25B is cleared for departure at Andrews are both doing the same fundamental thing. They're buying time. One is buying 2 hours of it. The other is buying every hour, from every destination, on their terms, indefinitely. The jet was never the point. What you do with the time is. If this was useful, subscribe. I break down how things actually work, not how the brochure describes them. See you in the next one.